In this module, we're looking at student progress, and this is probably, in my opinion, the most important module in this entire training because our funding from the federal government depends on student progress. If our students don't make progress, our program does not get funded, which means our jobs are not continued. So student progress is directly tied to our paychecks. And it's important to understand how this process works. So the first thing I want to tell you about is an MSG. That stands for Measurable Skills Gain. The federal reports are based on MSG attainment. An MSG is earned by moving from one level of adult education to another on the basis of TABE or CASAS scores. And there are other ways, but this is primarily the way. When we talk about an MSG, generally, we are talking about a TABE post-test or a CASAS post-test. Recall that all students take a pretest to enter our program. This pretest provides a baseline NRS level. Remember, that's called our EFL level, Educational Functioning Level. And let me just write that in there. Anytime you see baseline NRS, think of EFL, Educational Functioning Level. And there are NRS levels for both AE and ESL. Remember, those range from 1 to 6. This is so important. A student with a pretest NRS or an EFL of 1, 2, 3, or 4 must have at least 40 hours of instruction between pretest and post-test scores. A student with an EFL of 5 or 6 must have at least 30 hours of instruction between pretest and post-test scores. You and I cannot post-test whenever we feel like it. The state is very, very strict on these requirements. So how does a student get an MSG, a measurable skills gain? Let's suppose that a student comes into the program and takes the TABE test and scores a level 1. That's a literacy level. After 40 hours, that student takes a post-test and moves to an NRS of level 2. That is a level gain. Suppose that the student comes in at a level 4, stays with us for 40 hours, and moves to level 5 on a post-test. That is a level gain. That same student could also get an HSE. That is a level gain. So as long as this baseline NRS is increasing to the next level or higher, or the student gets an HSE, that is considered a level gain. Now, if you come in at level 6, the only way to get a gain is to earn an HSE, a high school equivalency diploma. Why is that? Is that the only option for a level 6? Because the National Reporting System only goes to level 6. There is no level 7. So if your student is a level 6, he or she can earn an HSE, and they will. If a student is a level 6 on TABE, he or she is ready to take the HiSET exam. This is important. This is where our paychecks come into play. Our program goal for measurable skills gains is at least 40% for the year. This means that 4 out of every 10 students who enter our program should exit our program with a measurable skills gain. Watch your monthly status report to see how your program is doing. At least 40%, but we want it to be much higher than 40%. 4 out of 10 students get a gain. That means that 6 out of 10 leave us with nothing. And that is not something that we want to strive for. We want to strive for at least 40%. The High School Equivalency Diploma, HSE, students do get a gain if he or she earns a diploma from any baseline NRS level. This is important to know, and let's read it slowly. If a student earns a level gain and then a diploma, the diploma gain trumps the level gain. We can only count one gain per student per year. So if your student gets, let's say, on the TABE test, a post-test gain in February, and in May, he passes the HiSET, you would not get to count both of those. You would only get to count the HiSET because it is a higher level gain. Let's say that your NRS level 1 student makes a gain to level 2, and then 40 hours later makes a gain to level 3, you only count the higher gain, not both of them, unfortunately. Other earned credentials may also count for gains. Students may earn credit for certificates and educational processes that they go through. If your student tells you that he or she earned a certificate in another program, please check with your data entry person to see if this credential should be uploaded into the student's file on Jobs4TN. For example, let's say the student completes a CNA program. A lot of CNA programs do not require high school diplomas. The student can become a CNA without a diploma. So that would be an educational gain, definitely, a work preparedness gain. So check with your data person to see if that type of gain can be entered. A lot of confusing stuff there, I do understand, but this is such important material. Some guidance, just general guidance on student progress. So you as an instructor need to remember these key things. If your student is NRS 1, 2, or 3, focus on moving him to the next NRS level. A 1, 2, 3 probably is not HiSET ready. There are a few exceptions. I've seen students at level 1 pass the HiSET, but it is very unusual. So usually your 1s, 2s, and 3s, that means they need to get 40 hours. And then post-test. Now, if you're 20 hours in and you realize that your student is doing exceptionally well, give them the official practice test. There is no hour requirement on the official practice test. You can give that whenever you see the need to do so. If your student is an NRS 4, 5, or 6, the focus is the HiSET. Don't worry about 40 hours. Get them to fast track curriculum, boot camp curriculum, something to prepare them as quickly as possible for the HiSET, and then get them to the official practice test, which, remember, does not have an hours requirement. Some students are going to pass that official practice test during orientation. Never, ever, ever hold a student back when they're close enough to the HiSET. Don't worry about the 40 hours. Get them to the HiSET if they're ready. We don't want to be holding our students up. If a student tells you he or she is leaving the program, check with your data entry person immediately to see if any post-testing or official practice testing needs to be done. Never post-test a student without checking with your data entry person or your lead instructor to see which test form to use. Remember, it's an audit finding to use the same test form back to back. If the student takes an 11M TABE on math, the post-test will be a 12M TABE. You cannot give the same test form back to back. The same is true with the OPT. If your student takes OPT 8, next time you have to give him OPT 9 or OPT 7, whichever ones are in play. You just cannot give them the same form back to back.